जबि जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवर धारी जय गिरिवर धारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवर धारी जय गिरिवर धारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभा जय गिरिवर धारी जय गिरिवर धारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरवनचारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 रामा राम राम हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा and pranam. I just translate the particular kirtan. It says, so Krishna is the lover of Radha. He displays many amorous pastimes in the groves of Vrindavana. He is the lover of the cowherd maidens of Raja and the holder of the great hill named Govardhana. He is the beloved son of Mother Yashoda, the delighter of the inhabitants of Raja, and he wanders in the forests along the banks of river Yamuna. Srila Prabhupada was very fond of this kirtan, and he sang it just before his lectures. And in Allahabad and Gorakhpur, Srila Prabhupada fell into a trance after singing the first two lines. And after some time, he came back to his external consciousness and said, now just chant Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada said that this song is a picture of Vrindavana. Everything is there. Srimati Radharani, Vrindavana, Govardhana, Yashoda, and all the cowherd boys. Hare Krishna. We'll now start with the today's class. First, I'll start with the prayers. Parampara. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurum Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Uyuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Saganan Raghunathanvitantam sam sajivam sadvaitam savadhutam parijana sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangrahe नमो महावदन्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतुषे नमः नमो ब्राह्मण्य देवाय गो ब्राह्मण हिताय च जगत हिताय कृष्णाय गोविंदाय नमो नमः नमः ओम विष्णुपादाय कृष्ण प्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिन इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लङ्घयितेकेरं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारतं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्येश्वरं पवित्रं सर्वावस्थं गतो देवा यस्मरेत् पुण्डरीकाक्षं स भयपवित्रं श्रीकृष्णं हरे कृष्ण Hare Krishna to all the devotees who are here today. Dandavat pranam to you. Dandavat pranam Shilpa Mataji. Dandavat pranam Akinchan Prabhu. Dandavat pranam Venela Mataji. Dandavat pranam.
Pranam Prabhuji.
Dandavat pranam. We'll commence today's class. So I'll continue from where Praveen Prabhu left off yesterday. But just before I move to verse number 12, I'll start from verse number 12 and for around 1 hour because today I have another program to attend. So we'll try to finish the class quickly today. Just a very quick, we'll do a recap first. Let me share my screen. I hope my screen is visible. So yesterday we saw the story of Puranjana, which was commenced by Praveen Prabhu. And prior to that, we have heard the story of the Prachitas, they going into the forest as they're instructed by Prachinapare. And there at a lake, Lord Shiva appears and he gives them the Rutra Gita, which they recite in the lake water for 10,000 years. At this time, Prachinapare was, of course, he was still the king and he was engaged in karmakandic rituals. Now, Prachinapare, of course, come from very great lineage. Dhruva Maharaj, Anga, Prithu Maharaj. We coming from very great lineage, and Narada Muni, who's ever so compassionate, he comes to help Prachinapare, and he asks him this question in terms of what do you achieve by doing such karmakandic rituals? And Prachinapare is, of course, while he's engaged in this karmakandic rituals to fulfill his desires, he's also very, very humble. And there he replies to Narada Muni and he says that, oh, great sage, my intelligence is entangled in fruitive activities. Graham think family to be the ultimate goal of life and wander in material existence. So here he is seeking the help of a spiritual master to get out of this world, material world of miseries and material existence, which is also a kind of a cue for us that we need to also take shelter under the spiritual master, whose compassion will help us also come out of this ocean of misery and material existence. So then Narada Muni shows Prachinabari the dead animals that Prachinabari has sacrificed. And he tells him that, if you continue like this, these animals, whom you have not done the sacrifice in the right way, with that right consciousness, they are awaiting you to pierce you with your horns. So, of course, then after that, uh, uh, Narada begins to narrate the story of Puranjana. And here, I think an important point is that Puranjana is there in everybody. Actually, Puranjana, it's an allegorical story that Narada Muni is narrating to Prachinabari, but is also in a way kind of a mirror being shown to Prachinabari, who's also in a way Puranjana, living his life like a Puranjana. And this also happens to be a very, very important point for all of us in this Kali Yuga, wherein we are also coming under the influence of material intelligence and succumbing to all those wants of desire in this material world. So Puranjana is compared to Bhurishrava, and he has a friend Avijnata, who is the super soul. So in where Praveen Prabhu ended yesterday, Puranjana had traveled all over the world trying to fulfill his desires, but was disappointed. So that was where Praveen Prabhu concluded his lecture yesterday. I will continue from there. But before that, I think it's an important point is that no matter how hard we try in this material world, we will not be able to find that happiness. Yesterday, I was fortunate to attend a temple program, and His Grace Sabyasachi Prabhu was there, who was giving a lecture on Damodar Leela. And he mentioned a very, very important point, which I thought that it narrates and it sticks very well with what we are reading today from Puranjana's story. And he said that we need to engage all our senses in the service of the Lord. If we don't do that, we'll never find that happiness. And this is exactly what is happening in this narrative or in this story, is that Puranjana is trying to fulfill his desires. He's not trying to fulfill and make the Lord happy. And no wonder he travels all over the world to fulfill his desires, but is disappointed. And I think this is an important point that we need to keep in mind, that as long as we are trying to fulfill our own material desires, we might have some temporary happiness or an experience of which is positive, which we might think is positive. But at the end of it all, we will realize that all these efforts were all futile, as it leads to misery and unhappiness. So I will read till around verse number 24 today for the next 1 hour. And then I will, if we have some time permitting, we will take some questions and then we can stop, as I have to attend another program today. So at a very high level, the story from here onwards is that Prachinabari then finally he reaches a destination wherein he sees a city of 9 gates. And this city of 9 gates can be compared to the body of us, our body, with 9 holes. And then the description of the city of 9 gates is given, which is compared to our material body. And then we then later on see that in that city, Puranjana sees a beautiful woman who is Puranjani, and he gets smitten by her, and how the story then takes a turn. I will read the verse and the translation. I will request one of the devotees to kindly read the purport. I hope you are able to see the text clearly. Hare Krishna, are you able to see the text? I'm just checking once.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Text number 12. न साधु मेने ता सर्वा भूतले यावति पुरः कामान कामयमानोऽसौ तस्य तस्योपपत्तये. King Puranjana had unlimited desires for sense enjoyment. Consequently, he traveled all over the world to find a place where all his desires could be fulfilled. Unfortunately, he found a feeling of insufficiency everywhere. Hare Krishna. Can someone read the purport, please?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Vidyapati, a great Vaishnava poet, has sung. Tatala Shaikate Vari Bindu Sama Sutamita Ramani Samaje. Material sense gratification with society, friendship, and love herein is compared to a drop of water falling on a desert. A desert requires ocean of water to satisfy it, and if only a drop of water is supplied, what is the use? Similarly, the living entity is a part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead, who are stated in the Vedanta Sutra is Anandavayo Abhyasa, full of enjoyment. Being part and parcel of Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity is also seeking complete enjoyment. However, complete enjoyment cannot be achieved separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In these wanderings, in the different species of the life, the living entity may taste some type of enjoyment in one body or other, but full enjoyment of senses cannot be obtained in any material body. Thus, Puranjala, the living entity, wanders in different types of bodies, but everywhere meets frustration in his attempt to enjoy. In other words, the spiritual spark covered by matter cannot fully enjoy the senses in any circumstances in the material life. A deer may become absorbed in the musical sounds vibrated by the hunter, but the result is that it loses its life. Similarly, a fish is very expert in gratifying its tongue, but when it eats the baits offered by the fisherman, it loses its life. Even the elephant, who is so strong, is captured and loses its independence while satisfying its genitals with the female elephant. In each and every species of the life, the living entity gets the body to satisfy the various senses, but he cannot enjoy all his senses at one time. In the human life, in the human form of the life, he gets an opportunity to enjoy all his senses pervertedly. But the result is that he becomes so harassed in his attempted self gratification that he ultimately becomes morose. As he tries to satisfy his senses more and more, he becomes more and more entangled. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. A beautiful purport by Srila Prabhupada, and I'm sure that all of you are able to relate with this. very correctly he has said, being part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the living entity is also seeking enjoyment. However, complete enjoyment cannot be achieved separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So we as jivas, as souls, in our original state, we are pure. We are also, we know what that complete enjoyment is. But due to all this conditioning that we have been through over the millions of lifetimes that we have been living, we have forgotten that, where to seek that happiness. And so we keep wandering, trying to see if we can fulfill and find happiness and have that enjoyment through the senses. But unfortunately, this enjoyment of the senses cannot be obtained in any material body, the full enjoyment. It is just an illusion that we get trapped into. And just like, we see the deer that gets trapped by a hunter and then eventually killed, or a fish that gets trapped by a bait and that gets eventually trapped. It all eventually leads to the jiva becoming ultimately morose. And he has mentioned very nicely over here where he says that in the human form of life, he gets an opportunity to enjoy all his senses pervertedly. But the result is that he becomes so harassed in his attempt of sense gratification that he ultimately becomes morose. Are we all able to relate to this purport? It's a very, very powerful, small purport, but it's very, very powerful, which if we read and if we reflect, we also see the futility of what we are trying to chase in this material life. Be it in our corporate lives, we are trying to chase a promotion, or we are trying to chase for extra salary increments. And all through our years, we have been trying to chase something material. And all that has given us at the end of the day, if you reflect back, and if I try to reflect back in my life, is that it has only given us something which is incomplete. It has not given us anything that is complete satisfaction or happiness. In fact, it has even led to more, discontentment, which leads to unhappiness, and then kind of also sometimes leads us to do things which we may not want to do. Leads us to become angry, for example. So a very, very important shloka, and very, very important for us to reflect on these slokas. Each and every of these slokas, that's why I'm also going slowly in this particular chapter. I think it's very, very relevant for all of us. Text 13. So now what happens now? So now Puranjana is continuing his travel, and then he comes to this city near the Himalayas. Sa ekada himavato dakshineshva atha sanushu dadarshanav dwarbhihi puram lakshita lakshanam. Translation: once while wandering in this way, he saw on the southern side of the Himalayas, in a place named Bharatavarsha, India, a city that had 9 gates all about and was characterized by all auspicious facilities. Hare Krishna. Request one of the devotees to please read the purport.
I'll read it again, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
The tract of the land south of Himalaya mountains is the land of India, which was known as Bharatavarsha. When a living entity takes birth in Bharatavarsha, he is considered to be most fortunate. Indeed, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has stated, Bharata Bhumite Haila Manusya Janma Yara Janma Sartaka Kari Kara Kapara Upakara. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi 9.41. Thus, whoever takes birth in the land of Bharatvarsha attains all the facilities of life. He may take advantage of all these facilities for both material and spiritual advancements, and thus to make his life successful. After attaining the goal of life, one may distribute his knowledge and experience all over the world for humanitarian purposes. In the other words, one who takes birth in the land of Bharatvarsha by virtue of his past pious activities gets full facility to develop human form of life. In India, the climatic conditions is such that one can live very peacefully without being disturbed by the material conditions. Indeed, during the time of Maharaja Yudhishthira or Lord Ramchandra, people were free from all anxieties. These are not these was not even extreme cold or extreme heat. The three kinds of miserable conditions, Adhyatmika, Adibhautika, and Adidaivika, miseries inflicted by the body and the mind itself, those inflicted by the living entities, and the natural disturbances, were all absent during the reign of Lord Ramachandra or or Maharaj Yudhishthira. But the present but at present, compared to the other countries on earth, India is artificially disturbed. Despite these material disturbances, however, the country's culture is such that one can easily attain the goal of the life, namely salvation or liberation from the material bondage. Thus, in order to take birth in India, one must have performed many pious activities in the past life. In the verse, in this verse, the word Lakshita Lakshanam indicates that the human body attained in Bharatvarsha is very auspicious. Vedic culture is full of knowledge, and a person born in India can fully take advantage of Vedic culture, knowledge, and cultural systems known as Varnashrama Dharma. Even at present, even at present time, as we travel all over the world, we see that in some countries human beings have not uh, human beings have many material facilities, but no facilities for spiritual advancement. We find everywhere the defects of one-sided facilities and a lack of full facilities. A blind man can walk but not see, and lame man cannot walk but can see. Following the logic called Aldapangu Lyaya. A blind man may take the lame man over his shoulder, and as a blind man walks, a lame man may give his directions. Thus combined, they may walk, but individually neither the blind man nor the lame man can walk successfully. Similarly, this evil form of life is meant for the advancement of spiritual life and for keeping the material necessities in order. Especially in the Western countries, there are ample of facilities for the material comforts, but no one has any idea of spiritual advancements. Many are anchoring after spiritual advancements, but many cheaters come, take advantage of their money, bluff them, and go away. Fortunately, the Krishna conscious movement is there to give all the facilities for the both material and spiritual advancement. In this way, people in the Western country may take advantage of this movement. In India, any well the villages unaffected by the industrial cities of India can still live in any condition and make spiritual advancement. The body has been called as city of Nile gates, and the Nile sea are cleaned by are sorry, Prabhu, uh, and are kept clean by the villagers who rise early in the morning, bathe in the well or rivers, go to temple to attend the Mangal Aarti, chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and take prasada. In this way, one can take the advantage of all the facilities of human being. We are gradually introducing this system in different centers in our society in the Western countries. One who takes advantage of it becomes more and more enlightened in the spiritual life. At the present moment, India may be compared to the lame man and the Western countries to the blind man. For the past 2000 years, India was being subjugated by the rule of foreigners, and the legs of the progress have been broken. In the Western countries, the eyes of the people have become blind due to dazzling glitter of material opulence. The blind well of the Western countries and the lame well of the India should combine together in the Krishna consciousness movement. Then the lame man of the India can walk with the help of the Westerner, and the blind and the Westerner can see with the help of the lame man. In short, the material advancement of the Western countries and the spiritual assets of the India should combine for the elevation of the human society.
Thank you very much for reading a long purport, but it's a very nice purport, and Prabhupada is kind of, in a way, he's so beautifully, he has linked the body of 9 gates, which he has said, including the 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, 1 mouth, genital lobe, and rectum. And he has given us also the message that, how to keep these 9 gates working properly and clean. Rising early in the morning, bathing, going to the rivers, going to the temples to attend the Mangalarti and chanting the Hare Krishna mantra and taking prasada. And he says that in India, this is very much possible. So he nicely also links the analogy which he used of a lame man being assisted by a blind man and vice versa. So the lame man gives the directions while the blind man is able to carry the lame man. So both are helping each other. And he says that how we need to bring together material advancement and the spiritual assets to advance and elevation of human society. Text 14, from here onwards, it will be small purports or no purports. So we'll move a little fast here. Text 14. Prakaropav natal tala parikair akshatoranai swarnaropya ya sai shringai saankulam sarvato grihai. Translation: that city was surrounded by walls and parks, and within it were towers, canals, windows, and outlets. The houses were decorated with domes made of gold, silver, and iron. So we will see the comparison between these different parts of the city. I'll move to also summarize after moving through these verses. We'll just see also in Subodhini, where Gauranga Darshan Prabhu has nicely provided in a tabular format. So here Prabhupada says in his purport, the body is protected by walls of skin. The hairs on the body are compared to parks. And the highest parts of the body, like the nose and the head, are compared to towers. The wrinkles and depressions on different parts of the body are compared to trenches and canals. The eyes are compared to windows, and the eyelids are compared to the protective gates. The 3 types of metal, gold, silver, and iron, represent the 3 modes of material nature. Gold represents goodness, silver represents passion, and iron represents ignorance. The body is also sometimes considered to be a bag containing 3 elements, the Tridhatu: mucus, bile, and air, kapha, pitta, and vayu. Yasyatma buddhihi punape tridhatuke, according to Bhagavatam 10.84.13. One who considers this bag of mucus, bile, and air to be the self is considered to be no better than a cow or ass. So we'll move to the next verse now, text 15. Nila Svatika Vaidurya Mukta Mara Katarunaihi Klipta Harmya Stalim Deeptam Shriya Bhogavatatim Viva. Translation: the floors of the houses in that city were made of sapphire, crystal, diamonds, pearls, emeralds, and rubies. Because of the luster of the houses in the capital, the city was compared to the celestial town named Bhogavati. Hare Krishna, can one of the devotees read the purport? Yeah, I will read the purport. In the city of the body, the heart is considered to be the capital. Just as the capital of a state is especially gorgeously filled with various high buildings and lustrous palaces, the heart of the body is filled with various desires and plans for material enjoyment. Such plans are sometimes compared to valuable jewels such as sapphires, rubies, pearls, and emeralds. The heart becomes the center for all planning for material enjoyment. So this is self-explanatory. Again, the different things that we see in that city are again compared to the parts of the body. X16. Sabha chatvara ratyabhir akridayatana panaihi chaitya dhvaja patakabhir yuktam vidruma vedibihi. Translation: in that city, there were many assembly houses, street crossings, streets, restaurants, gambling houses, markets, resting places, flags, festoons, and beautiful parks. All these surrounded the city. In this way, purport, in this way, the capital is described. In the capital, there are assembly houses and many squares, many street crossings, avenues and streets, many gambling places, markets and places of rest, all decorated with flags and festoons. The squares are surrounded with railings and are devoid of trees. The heart of the body can be compared to the assembly house, for the living entity is within the heart along with the Paramatma. And thus the heart is the center of all remembrance, forgetfulness, and deliberation. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Sarvasya chaham hridhi sannivishto mattah smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So he is giving us that remembrance, forgetfulness, and deliberation. In the bodies, the eyes, ears, and nose are different places of attraction for sense enjoyment. And the streets for going hither and thither may be compared to the different types of air blowing within the body. The yogic process for controlling the air within the body and the different nerves is called Sushumna, the path of liberation. The body is also a resting place because when the living entity becomes fatigued, he takes rest within the body. The palms and the soles of the feet are compared to flags and festoons. Text 17. Puryastu bhayo pavane divya druma latakule nadad ve vihangali kula kolahala jalashaye. Translation: on the outskirts of that city were many beautiful trees and creepers encircling a nice lake. Also surrounding that lake were many groups of birds and bees that were always chanting and humming. Can someone read the purport? Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu. You are audible, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Shall I read it, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay. Purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Since the body is great city, there must be various arrangements such as lakes and gardens, okay, for sense enjoyment of the various parts of the body, those which incite sexual impulses are referred to here indirectly, because the body has genitals. When the living entity attains the right age, okay, be he man or woman, he becomes agitated by sex impulse. As long as one remains a child, he is not agitated by seeing a beautiful woman, although the senses organs are present. Although the sense organs are present, unless the age is ripe, there is no sex impulse. Okay, the favorable conditions surrounding the sex impulse are compared here to a garden or a nice solitary park. When one sees the opposite sex, naturally the sex impulse increases. It is said that if a man in a solitary place does not become agitated upon seeing a woman, he is to be considered a brahmachari. But this is in practice is almost impossible. The sex impulse is so strong that even by seeing, touching, or talking, coming into a contact, okay, with or even thinking of opposite sex, okay, even in so many subtle ways, okay, one become sexually impaired. Consequently, a brahmachari or sannyasi is prohibited to associate with a woman, especially in a secret place. The Shastras, the Shastras enjoin that one should not even talk to a woman in a secret place, even if she happens to be one's own daughter or sister or mother. The sex impulse is so strong that even if one is very learned, he becomes agitated in such circumstances. If this is the case, how can a young man in a nice park remain calm and quiet after seeing a beautiful young woman? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. In a very strong purport, a very strong message to us that outside Maya is waiting for us at every nook and corner. And the onus is on us to avoid getting into situations or in environments where it is more likely that we will be succumbing to the illusory power of Maya. And Prabhupada has given that message very strongly that the human body is such, the nature is such that it's bound to be influenced by that environment and the senses will pull us. Now it is up to us that we control those senses by keeping the reins in our hand, or we succumb to the senses and allow the senses then to take us in whichever direction they want them to. Text 18. Thank you, Prasad Prabhu, for reading that purport. Very nice purport it is. Text 18. Hima nirjara viprushmat kusumakara vayuna chalat pravala vitapa nalini tata sampadi. Translation. The branches of the trees standing on the bank of the lake received particles of water carried by the spring air from the falls coming down from the icy mountain. Hare Krishna. Does anyone want to read the purport?
Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu.
Purport. In this verse, the word Hima Nirjala is particularly significant. The waterfall represents a kind of liquid humor or rasa relationship in the body where there are different types of humor. Rasa or mellow, the supreme mellow relationship is called a sexual mellow, Adirasa. When this Adirasa or a sex desire comes in contact with the spring air, moved by the Cupid, it becomes agitated. In other words, all these are representations of Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Shabda, and Sparsha. The wind is Sparsha or touch. The waterfall is Rasa or taste. The spring air, Kusuma, Kusumakara is smell. All these varieties of enjoyments make life very pleasing, and thus we become captivated by the material existence. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. We'll continue reading text 19. Nanaranyam mriga vratair anabadhe badhe muni vrataihi ahutam manyate pantho yatra kokila kudutaihi. Translation: in such an atmosphere, even the animals of the forest became non-violent and non-envious like great sages. Consequently, the animals did not attack anyone. Over and above everything was the cooing of cuckoos. Any passenger passing along that path was invited by that atmosphere to take rest in that nice garden.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Purport: a peaceful family with wife and children is compared to the peaceful atmosphere of a forest. The children are compared to non-violent animals. Sometimes, however, wives and children are called Swajana Swajanakshaya
Anakya Dasyu.
Sudanaksha Dakshu. Burglars in the name of kingsmen. A man earns his livelihood with hard labor, but the result is that he is plundered by his wife and children, exactly as a person in the forest is attacked by some thieves and burglars who take away his money. Nonetheless, in the family life, the turmoil of wife and children appears to be like the cooing of a cuckoo in the garden of family life. Being invited by such an atmosphere, a person who is passing through such a blissful family life desire to have his family with his all at all costs.
Hare Krishna. So he's the purport Prabhupada is actually kind of also making us. I think we are all in as grahasthas. We see this, and it's not that we should not be attached to our family life, but how we forget what is our true purpose is also coming to the fore out here. I'll just quickly switch to the Sumodhini, where I'll just show you the table that he has shared. Gauranga Prabhu has shared very nicely, wherein from verse 14 to 19, this description of the city of 9 gates is given to the is given over here, and the comparison with the body is put it in a tabular form in a very nice way, wherein compared the walls of the city are compared to the skin, the parks, the upavana are compared to the hairs, the towers are compared to parts like the nose or the head, the trenches or canals are compared to the wrinkles and depressions in the body, the windows that they see in the city, the aksha, are compared to the eyes, and the gates are the eyelids. The eyelids are covering the windows. The houses with gold, silver, and iron domes are compared to the tridhatu, which is the mucus, bile, and air. The heart is compared to the capital of the state. And then the floors that are made of sapphire, crystal, diamonds, pearls, emerald, and rubies are compared to the various desires and plans for material enjoyment. The assembly house in the middle of the city is the heart. It's a center for all remembrance, forgetfulness, and deliberation. The street crossings, which is compared to the place below the pallet, where the passages for the mouth, nose, eyes, and ears meet. The flags and festoons are compared to the palms and soles of the feet. The streets to the Sushumna, Ida, and Pingala running down the spine. The gambling houses are the gross location of the senses. The market is the gross mind, the brain. The resting places is the chitta. And then we have the trees, creepers encircling a nice lake, group of birds and bees that were chanting and humming. The favorable conditions surrounding the sex impulse. We just discussed that also. Very good purport for verse number 17. And then the wind, waterfall, spring air are compared to sparsha, different types of rasa. And then we saw the non-violent animals, which is compared to no sinful reactions due to pious results. And the cooing cuckoos attracting travelers to rest in that nice garden, compared to persons dividing their enjoyment amongst family members, friends, and guests. So now the scene changes as Puranjana then now will see a beautiful woman, and she is Puranjani. X20. Yadrichaya gatam tatra dadarsha pramadotamam bhritair dashabhir ayantim ekaikash shata nayakaihi. Translation: while wandering here and there in that wonderful garden, King Puranjana suddenly came in contact with a very beautiful woman who was walking there without any engagement. She had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying him. The body, purport, the body has already been compared to a beautiful garden. During youth, the sex impulse is awakened, and the intelligence, according to one's imagination, is prone to contact the opposite sex. In youth, a man or woman is in search of the opposite sex by intelligence or imagination, if not directly. The intelligence influences the mind, and the mind controls the 10 senses. 5 of these senses gather knowledge, and 5 work directly. Each sense has many desires to be fulfilled. This is the position of the body, and the owner of the body, Puranjana, who is within the body. So, Puranjana is the owner of the body, and Puranjani is the material intelligence. And how Puranjana is now getting under or getting captured by that material intelligence. Yeah, Prabhupada says, the intelligence influences the mind, and the mind controls the 10 senses. So if we come under the control of that material intelligence, then we are bound to be driven into sense gratification and material enjoyment. It is very interesting because as a jiva, we are actually supposed to be above that material, above our intelligence. And this was my own personal reflection when I was just reading this part of this particular chapter, that the soul needs to be right at the top. But the issue is that now the soul being conditioned in a conditioned state then becomes subservient to this material intelligence, and therefore then loses control of those senses, which then run towards sense gratification. And as I had said, that there is nothing in this material world that can satisfy the senses. So that satisfaction of the senses is not going to happen. Just like Puranjana, he will be searching for it, and he will never find that sense gratification. Similarly, if we come under the control of that material intelligence, we are also bound to be running like headless chickens and will be suffering in this material world. And the only way to overcome this is to engage the senses in the service of the Lord. We are very fortunate that we have got Srila Prabhupada's guidance and the guidance of all our senior leaders and spiritual masters who are there in the society of ISKCON who are guiding us in this right path and making us realize that we should be coming on top to control and be in control. Next, 21.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, can you go back a little? Yeah.
Yes.
So here, why she had 10 servants with her, and each servant had hundreds of wives accompanying. I mean that the 10 servants are nothing but the senses, right? I mean,
Yes, Prabhu. Yes.
why they are compared like a male? Senses are compared like a male because they mention that okay, 10 senses have hundreds of wives. That means those senses are male. So is
Yeah,
there
so
any?
10 servants with hundreds of wives is the senses with many desires. They are representing senses with many desires. So Puranjani, as I said, is the material intelligence. It's functioning with ignorance.
Hmm.
So and Puranjana is now coming under the control of this intelligence, which is functioning with ignorance.
Okay.
Does that help clarify, Prabhu? So on your question on the servants being male and hundreds of wives being, I think that is more just it's been framed in that way. That is my but I rather than looking into the gender over there, they have been it's actually representing the 10 servants represent the 10 senses with many desires who are
Oh,
subservient to the
okay.
senses. So the
Oh.
senses are chasing those desires. Just like in the material world, we see the male
Hmm.
is running behind due to that sexual impulse, it's going behind the woman.
Mhm. Okay, okay. So there's no, there's no specific significance like why those 10 servants were mentioned as the male, and then the desires are like females, and nothing specific like.
No. So I am not in the knowledge of that, Prabhu. So, but I don't know if any other senior devotee wants to comment. But so I think the way we need to read it is 10 servants with hundreds of wives is 10 servants represent the 10 senses, and the hundreds of wives are representing many desires.
Desires. Okay, okay, okay. Thank you, Prabhu.
Right. And I think this point is an important point that, the Puranjani typically arrives on her own. Yadrachya Agatam, and Gauranga Prabhu has mentioned that he says this initial relationship of the Jiva with material intelligence, it arises without any cause. Next, 21. Panchashirshahina Guptam Tiharena Sarvatah Anveshamanam Rishabham Apraudham Kamarupinim. Translation: the woman was protected on all sides by a five-hooded snake. She was very young, very beautiful, and young, and she appeared very anxious to find a suitable husband. Hare Krishna. Can someone read the purport?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Purport. The vital force of a living entity includes the five kind of air working within the body, which are known as prana, apana, vyana, samana, and udana. The vital force is compared to a serpent because a serpent can live simply by drinking air. The vital force carried by the air is described as the pratihara, or the bodyguard. Without the vital force, one cannot live for a moment. Indeed, all the senses are working under the protection of the vital force. The woman who represents the intelligence was searching for a husband. This indicates that intelligence cannot act without consciousness. A beautiful woman is unless uh, is beautiful woman is useless unless protected by the proper husband. Intelligence must always be very fresh. Therefore, the word apra, apra,
Apraudham.
very young, is used here. Material enjoyment means utilizing the intelligence for the sake of rupa, rasa, gandha, shabda, and sparsha, or form, taste, smell, sound, and touch. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So very beautifully, Srila Prabhupada has put it here that the material intelligence has to be under the control of consciousness. If it is not there, then it is going to run astray. And the reason for that is that intelligence, as he's saying, is a proud harm. It's very young. And without that proper guidance of that consciousness, material intelligence will run behind for the sake of Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, Shabda and Sparsha, behind the senses. So as I said again here, that if we don't realize whom we are, what is our true purpose, who we are, which is to be the servant of the God, and what is our purpose, to serve the God, to see that God is happy. We are whatever it's our objective is to make Krishna happy. When we forget that and our consciousness becomes contaminated, that is when it becomes subservient to the intelligence. And then when the intelligence then starts running behind these form, taste, smell, sound, and that's the senses for sense satisfaction, sense gratification. So Prabhupada is very nicely putting it that, and he's comparing it here and saying that we need to put ourselves above this intelligence. Text 22. Sunasam sudatim balam sukapolam varananam samavinyasta karnabhyam bhibratim kundalashriyam. Translation: the woman's nose, teeth, and forehead were all very beautiful. Her ears were equally very beautiful and were bedecked with dazzling earrings. Purport: the body of intelligence enjoys the objects of sense gratification that covers it, such as smell, vision, and hearing. The word sunasam, beautiful nose, indicates the organ for acquiring knowledge by smell. Similarly, the mouth is the instrument for acquiring knowledge by taste. For by chewing an object and touching it with the tongue, we can understand its taste. The word sukapolam, nice forehead, indicates a clear brain capable of understanding things as they are. By intelligence, one can set things in order. The earrings set upon the 2 ears are placed there by the work of the intelligence. Thus, the ways of acquiring knowledge are described metaphorically. We will continue. Text 23. Pishanganivim shushronim shyamam kanakamekhalam padbhyam kvanatbhyam chalantim nupurair devatamiva. Translation: the waist and hips of the woman were very beautiful. She was dressed in a yellow sari with a golden belt. While she walked, her ankle bells rang. She appeared exactly like a denizen of the heavens. Purport: this verse expresses the joyfulness of the mind upon seeing a woman with raised hips and breasts dressed in an attractive sari and bedecked with ornaments. How the senses actually start pulling us towards the material objects for sense gratification. Text 24. Stanau vyanjita kaishorau samavrittau nirantarau vastrantena niguhantim vridaya gajagaminim. Translation: with the end of her sari, the woman was trying to cover her breasts, which were equally round and well placed side by side. She again and again tried to cover them out of shyness, while she walked exactly like a great elephant. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, can someone read the purport?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah. Sorry. Can you? Okay. The two breasts represents the attachment and envy. The symptoms of rasa and vesha, attachment and envy, are described in Bhagavad Gita. Indriyas, Indriyan, sorry, what?
Indriyasyendriyas yarthe ragadveshau vyavastitau tayornavasham agachet tauhyasya yatauhyasya paripantinayo.
Attraction and repulsion for sense objects are felt by embodied beings, but one should not fail under the control of senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization.
Hare
These
Krishna,
represent
Prabhu. Just 1 minute, Prabhu. I think this is very important,
huh,
which is, attraction and repulsion for the sense objects are felt by embodied beings. So these are going to be coming in equal amounts. It's only that the timing will be different. So in our material lives, we are running behind, something which we believe is going to give us some kind of sense gratification. But eventually that repulsion will come, it will come at a later point of time. So one should not fall under the control of the senses and sense objects because they are stumbling blocks on the path of self-realization. Hare Krishna. Please continue.
yeah. So these representatives of attachment and envy are very much unfavorable for the advancement of the spiritual life. One should not be uh, attracted by attracted by the breasts of young men. The great saint Shankaracharya has described the breast of men, especially for young, is nothing but a combination of muscle and blood. One should not be attracted by the illusory energy of a raised breast with nipples. They are against of Maya, meant for victimize the opposite sex. Because the breasts are equally attractive, they are described as sama
Vrittau, Vrittau.
samavrtav. The sex impulse remain in an old man's heart also, even up to the point of death. To be rid of such agitation, one must be very, very much advanced in spiritual consciousness. Like Yamunacharya, who said, Prabhu, you want to read the sloka?
Yes, Prabhu. Yad avadhi mama cheta Krishna padarabinde navanavaras dhamanya udyatam rantumasid tad avadhi batanari sangame smaryamamane bhavati mukha vikarah shushtu nishti vanam cha.
Yeah. Since I have been engaged in the transcendental loving service of Krishna, realizing ever new pleasure in Him, whenever I think of sex impulse, I spit at the thought, and my lips curl with distaste. When one is spiritually advanced, he can no longer be attracted by the lumps of flesh and blood which are the breast of a young woman. The word Niranta Rao is significant because although the breasts are situated in the different locations, the attraction is same. One should not take any distinction between attachment and envy. As described in the Bhagavad Gita 3.37, they are both products of Rajoguna, Kama Esa, Krodha Esa, Rajoguna Samudbhavaha. The word the word ni-
Nigu Hantin.
niguhantim, okay, niguhantim, trying to cover, indicates that even if one is tainted by the kama, lobha, krodha, etc., they can be transfigured by Krishna consciousness. In other words, one can utilize kama, lust, for serving Krishna, being impelled by the lust. An ordinary worker will work hard day and night. Similarly, a devotee can work hard day and night to satisfy Krishna, just as the karmis are working hard to satisfy Kama Krodha, a devotee should work in the same way to satisfy Krishna similarly. Krodha, anger, can also be used in the service of Krishna when it is applied to the non-devotee demons. Hanumanji applied his anger in the way he was a great devotee of Lord Ramchandra, and he utilized his anger to set fire to kingdom of Ravana, a non-devotee demon. Thus, Kama can be utilized to satisfy Krishna, and Krodha, anger, can be utilized to punish the demons. When both are used in the Krishna service, they lose their material significance and become spiritually important. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I think, and just the important point that we need to keep in mind is that Raga and Dvesha are coming together. Just the timing is going to be different. What we need to keep in mind, so the attraction and the repulsion will be there in this material world. We might not see it together, but they will be coming definitely. And it is for us to utilize our consciousness so that it controls our intelligence and it sides on top of the intelligence, as does not then run astray behind the senses in search of sense gratification. So I will conclude the class here today with this particular verse now. I'll stop. I'll just take a pause for any questions that you may have. The chapter then moves on, basically, just to give you a snapshot. So when Puranjana, basically, he will start engaging with Puranjani and how he gets forgetful, basically, after that. And then the story then goes on beyond that. But we can take that from in the coming week, coming Saturday class. So I'll take a pause. Thank you very much for this opportunity. If I've made any mistakes or any omissions, that's due to my ignorance only, and please forgive me for that. I'd like to thank all the senior devotees also who have attending today, and Lilananda Prabhu for giving me this opportunity to be Krishna conscious for today for at least an hour and 15 minutes. Hare Krishna. Anyone has any questions? Prabhuji's, Mataji's?
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Very deep slokas and purports, Prabhu. Very strong purports. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu, and that is why we should read this slowly. And as I think Praveen Prabhu has rightly said, let's read this chapter slowly because it's very relevant for all of us.
Yeah. So I think we have gone through till 24, Prabhu. 24.
Till 24, Prabhu. We'll continue from 25. From verse number 25.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. So we'll conclude the class. Prabhuji and Mataji's. Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Anantakoti
Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for joining, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji.